Ladies and gentlemen, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to be boring. To be boring, to be boring. There's a study about curing cancer. It's so boring. There's a new study about emissions of CO2, so we can combat the climate change. It's so boring. And this new tax reform, I'm gonna shoot myself. It's so boring. It's boring, it's boring, it's boring. And it's a good thing. Good men are good men and they create good things, but they're boring. Experts are boring. And thank God we have a cure for that. And it's called political satire. Now, I'm a political satirist. I'm a fun slinger, a fun for hire. And we've been here all along, since the beginning of civilization, basically. Since the olden and golden age of Pericles and Athenian democracy, there was the old grandpa Aristophanes, the father of Western comedy. He made some comedies, made mockery of some politicians. He was sued. Don't worry about him. He won the lawsuit. Then there are people like Jonathan Swift, the Gulliver author. He made great jokes about the British being obsessed and being very, very annoyed by the fact that there's so many poor Irish kids, and he made a modest proposal about feeding those kids to the British nobility. And of course, there's a Croatian father of the nation, Ante Starčević. He was also a satirist, which you can tell because Croatian politics is still a joke. But the idea of political satirists is that they have a work to do, and that is that they take the boring, the good, from good men, good stuff, important stuff, and they take it and they throw it around because they have the reach. We have the reach. Oh, golly, we have the amazing reach. It's like a bubonic plague. We have so much reach. It's everywhere, and you know it. The most trusted name in media and news, Daily Show with Jon Stewart. And it's not news. You watched last week tonight with John Oliver about infrastructure in the United States, old bridges. Who would care about old bridges? And all of a sudden, we're all watching it on our Netflix or HBO or wherever. We're watching it. So that's the reach, right? And even now, it's more and more happening more and more. There's so many political satire going around, memes, archaeological memes, biological memes, even tax memes for the tax people, right? It's happening everywhere. And it's reach, because we can reach everybody. We can take what is boring, and we can create it to be fun, and it can reach people who wouldn't usually want to deal with that. Now, part of it, why we have so much reach, is honesty. I'm going to be honest, it's honesty. The reason for that is very simple. We expect from our journalists to be objective, from our experts to be neutral, but as humans, we know that's really not the case. It's so hard for them to be neutral and objective, and they try so hard, but we don't believe them. Today, we don't really trust the media, don't we? We don't believe our experts anymore, but we believe the satirists because we are offering you our opinion. We're not lying to be objective. We're not lying to be neutral. We are giving you our opinion. We're being honest about it. And I will always say this. Political satirists are politicians. I'm a politician. I am not a part of any party, a member of any organization. I don't run for election. I'm not paid by the state or the city council. I am an independent, free-thinking citizen that is actually doing politics. And part of that is really why it's so important to spread this information and why people believe me or my colleagues around the world. Now, it's not the only thing why people appreciate humor when it comes to politics. It's also fear. Because let's be honest, politics is scary. Wars, famine, lack of security, lack of safety, diseases, inflations, hardship. It's a scary thing. Now, there's biologists who claim that we developed humor for the purposes of fighting against fear. So you would have in a bush, you would be the hunter-gatherer, and something is moving in the bush. Is it a saber-toothed tiger, maybe? No, it's a little guinea pig, and everybody laughs, right? So it helps us to deal with these hardships. That's why people are more prone to listen to a political comedian or a satirist than from news. It's less scary. And that's why it's important, because by using that, we can even reach across the aisle. It's very simple. You can reach across the aisle, whether it be a political spectrum or a different nation, even a nation that you're in war with. I would dare to say that any diplomatic school around the world should teach self-deprecating humor. It's very important. If you can mock about yourself, if you can laugh at yourself, then you're allowed to laugh at the other side. You're showing that you're human and they're human as well. And we all know that, right? Oh, your leaders are corrupt. Let me tell you about my leaders, right? Oh no, your system is corrupt. Let me tell you about mine, right? So combine that with fighting fear, you have a really good combination of reaching people. Now, one more example of fighting fear is this. You've heard about the ancient Spartans fighting at the Thermopylae, and the Persians said, we have so many arrows, we can cloud the sky, cloud the sun. And the Greeks would go, great, we can fight in the shade. And my even better example that I love is St. Lawrence. St. Lawrence was tortured by the Romans. He was put on a spit and roasted above the fire. And at one point, he said to the Romans, he said, I think this part is done. You should turn me around, right? And now he's a patron saint of comedians and cooks. Well, now, building bridges is not just the only thing we can do with political satire. What we can also do is reach young people. Because it's not just demographic minus and deficit that we're dealing with. We're also dealing with democratic one. So young people are not really interested in politics anymore. Not in those numbers, not around the world, not in West, not in Europe. And we have a huge problem with that. Apathy is a disease. Aporia is as well a disease. And them listening to the experts and the old anchors of news, they're not interested in that, right? The generation of TikTok. So the only way to reach them is through humor. Now, I would know, we have a TV show that is on a weekly basis that we follow the news in Croatia. And for the people watching on YouTube, for example, if you don't know where Croatia is, it's very easy. It's the northwest of the southeast of Europe. You're going to find it. Now, young people, they tell us, we love your show. Oh, it's the only news we're watching. And I'm like, don't do that. No, please don't do it. Come on, that's horrible. You should watch news. But they're so bored with news. I'm like, no, watch the news and we could go through the motions together. We can laugh at it together, but you have to watch the news. Politics is the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food that you put in yourself. So it's very important that you follow it. But no, they're not really interested. But this is the only way we can at least reach them, right? This information is so incredible and it's so important that you can finally spread it, right? And it's a beacon call. It's a beacon call for causes. If you believe that animals need protecting, you can use humor to activate people. If you want to fight for the elderly, you can use this to activate people. If you believe that there's a war going on and you want to fight the war, this is how you activate the people. You can use comedy to activate the people, to activate the youth, and then they can help us with this democratic deficit that we're all facing. Now, which brings us to a problem. Political satire works, and because of that, it's being fought around the world. I have colleagues in countries where they have police storming their offices. Oh, those damn satirists, they're very dangerous. In Croatia, for example, there's no laws against political satire, yet we are being economically censored. We've been sued for slander. We've been sued for distress, or how we say it in Croatian, the pain of the soul. We've been fired. We've been censored. We've been blacklisted by the biggest companies, death threats. So many wonderful, beautiful things happen to us because this is the reality of political satire. It works. Those in power and wherever they are, they want to fight it, right? But it's beyond that. It's not just lawsuits. Even in the countries when you have complete freedom of speech, the only way to really understand the level of freedom of speech of each society is to look at their comedy. You don't have to look at through the laws. You don't have to look what the journalists are allowed to write, what the experts are allowed to explain, what the people on the street are allowed to say. You go to the comedy clubs and you look what they're not allowed to make fun of. Even in the most freest of societies, you will catch on what the taboos of societies are. I mean, lately you've probably heard, oh no, political correctness. I'm not allowed to say this. I'm not allowed to say that. No. It's ancient. It's from the start. Let me tell you something about the old guard. The old guard is still here. Nobody really makes fun of the army, of the military, of the wars. Nobody really mocks the financial institutions, the banks, the big businesses. Nobody really mocks the greed anymore. Those are the real taboos of the society. And if you want a real litmus test for freedom of speech, you go to comedy clubs. Now, the only real problematic thing that I'm looking for right now, and a new problem that I've discovered that exists, and I want you to join me in fighting this problem, is this. Because political correctness works, the politics wants to take it for themselves now. The president of Ukraine, Zelensky, is a comedian. The leader of the five-star movement in Italy, Pepe Grillo, a comedian. The last prime minister of Slovenia, a comedian. Even President Trump, in so many comedy movies, comedy shows, entertainment business, using comedy, he's also part comedian. So you see, the problem is we should stop doing this. We should stop doing this. We should stop rewarding politicians for being funny. What we need in politics is boring people. We need boring experts. We need boring people who know how to deal with medicine and save our lives. We need boring environmentalists in politics who can save our environment. We need boring people fighting for human rights to save our rights and our lives. That's what we need. In politics, we need boring people. And you should leave comedy to political satirists and comedians. So I'm calling you all to join me in the next step of a reform of our human civilization, and that is the separation of comedy and state. Thank you very much.